everybody. So we're so excited today to conclude our season of watching season 11 of Doctor Who by ranking the episodes of this season. I'm Rachel, and I have two special guests here for Talking Doctor Who. First, of course, they have Jonathan, who's been with me on all of these episodes.
Hey.
Yes. And then we have a special guest all the way across the pond from the UK. We have my friend Richard is here.
Hello.
Yeah, thanks so much for you. This is your first time on the podcast Talking Doctor Who, right?
Yeah, it is. Talking about Doctor Who.
Yeah, so fun. How long have you been a fan of Doctor Who?
Really, since the series was revived back in 2005 with Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper.
Yeah,
and
so
I hadn't actually intended to watch it that day, but it just happened to be on, and then I thought, I'm definitely tuning in next week. And so I just went from there. Just always kept up with it since, and been watching the classic series bit by bit as well.
Mm-hmm. What do you like about Doctor Who?
I suppose I just like the how inventive it is, like being able to just go anywhere in space and time and have all sorts of different adventures. And always the characters are always good as well.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite Doctor?
David Tennant, definitely the 10th Doctor.
Yeah. He was a lot of fun. So very cool. Well, great. So this is going to be a lot of fun. What we're going to do, there's 11 episodes because we are including the New Year special in our ranking that we're going to do. And so we're just going to each go over our rankings, talk about from 11 all the way to 1, and give our little reasons for why we had it where we have it. And we'd love for you guys listening to give us your rankings. Let us know if you agree with one of us or more, and that will be a lot of fun. So, all right. I am going to start with my number 11. I have the Tsaranga conundrum is my least favorite of the season because I felt like they were trying to do something, I think, kind of funny with this whole pregnant man thing, and I thought it just came off very awkward and weird, and I don't know. I thought it was a miss, and I guess, the alien was kind of cute, but the episode was really just kind of ruined by that pregnant man. I didn't like it, and so that was my least favorite of the season. So what about you, Jonathan? What's your number 11?
My number 11 is the number 11 episode, the New Year's special. That was my least favorite of the season. I just thought it wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting something a lot more exciting. I was expecting the Daleks to be a bigger deal. Instead, it was just this one. And I didn't feel like they concluded the storyline very well. They left a lot of threads hanging without any indication that they were going to be picking them up later. Like, you never find out what happens with the other parts of other Daleks. I don't know if they were like I said, I didn't know if it was like a starfish cut into 3 parts and they were all going to regenerate into new Daleks. So like, what was the other 2 parts? And it looked like they were coming back, but they never did. So it's just like too many loose threads. They didn't give enough character development to the new characters. The thing with his dad was resolved way too quickly.
Yeah.
It was just like they spent a whole season with all this angst about him, and then he comes back and in the span of a whole episode, everything's fine. It just seemed too unrealistically quick.
Yeah, and a lot of the characters are kind of sidelined. You didn't really see much from Yaz, for instance, or some of the other characters you hardly saw in the special.
It's usually Yaz who gets sidelined, isn't it? That's one of the problems with the series.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the problem with having so many companions, is that it's just hard.
When they had 3 companions in the William Hartnell era, they all got something to do. They've been struggling a bit with that this series.
I thought they were going to have Ryan and Yaz form an attachment, fall in love kind of thing. It seemed like it was heading that way a little bit, and then they didn't really do anything with it.
I think some fans have been suggesting there's more chemistry between Yaz and the Doctor.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Yeah. I haven't felt that, but
no, I didn't either, but
yeah, I didn't really think that either.
Yeah, fans will ship anything.
Yeah, that's true.
That's very true.
So, Richard, what was your number 11?
My number 11 was It Takes You Away. mean, I thought that was good in just about all the episodes in this series. So it takes you away isn't really a bad episode. I did like kind of the mystery at the start of it, but after that, once you go into the alternate universe and all the mystery was in the background, then there wasn't really that much else to it. Like they have this dilemma about whether to stay or not, and you just knew they weren't going to. And then that frog puppet was pretty terrible as well. I mean, you can't build a whole episode on a terrible puppet, but it did kind of stand out.
I forgot about that frog puppet. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Darn it. Yeah. I mean, that one's one of my middle ones you'll see coming up, but I can see why it would be your least favorite. I just thought the overall aesthetic was so cool with those weird bladder balloons things, and some of that stuff was pretty cool. But yeah, you obviously knew what was going to happen. So
yeah, the aesthetic was good. I like how they'd started off in this isolated house in Norway, and it kind of seemed like it was going to be like a haunted house story.
Yeah,
and I did like how they were able to move beyond that into something much more complex.
Yeah, interesting. So you were pretty high on this season then. You really liked it.
I did really like it. Yeah, it was a very consistent season. But I was like giving most of the episodes like 7s or 8s out of 10.
Yeah.
I felt the same way. It wasn't until the end where I thought it started going a little bit downhill.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with some of the critiques that I've read where they were trying maybe a little too hard to make every antagonist sympathetic or likable or give them a backstory or something like that, as opposed to just sort of fighting evil kind of a thing. I think there's some truth to that with that, and that also that doctor was pretty perfect. She didn't really make any mistakes, and that Sonic screwdriver was, I don't know, it was just very powerful, could do anything. But I don't know, it's an interesting.
Well, he can generally do anything in other series as well.
Yeah. So all right, well, my number 10 is Arachnids in the UK, because I just thought the mini Trump guy the American was really cringy, and I don't know, it was just kind of like, ugh, why do we need to have this in our little escapist sci-fi, it was just too, I thought it was kind of heavy-handed. The spiders were pretty cool, and that was pretty creepy sometimes, but the whole hotel owner guy thing, I didn't like. It wasn't for me. So I didn't like that. Jonathan, what do you have at number 10?
Number 10, I have the Battle of Ranskor av Kolos. That one, I just felt like it wasn't good enough to be a season finale, and that just kind of soured me on it. Like, it wasn't bad, I don't think. If it had been in the middle of the series, I don't think I would have thought twice about liking or disliking it. But because it was supposedly this massive season finale, it's just like it didn't feel big enough to be a season finale. Plus, I was never a fan of Tim Shaw anyway. Like, he was my least favorite part of the premiere, even though I really did like the premiere. Just like, I wish they could have found a better bad guy. I don't know. The episode was fine, but because it was supposed to be the season finale and it just did not feel like a season finale, I was kind of meh on it.
It makes sense. So, Richard, what's your number 10?
My number 10 is Kablam. And really just because it's quite a slow episode compared to most of the others. Like the story just kind of drags a lot in the middle. But otherwise, I kind of like the whole exploration of automation in the workplace, which is obviously a relevant issue. I did like the ending as well, where it turned out that Charlie was the bad guy, and that this plan to exploit people's love of popping bubble wrap.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's why I put it over It Takes You Away. It was just kind of it was a bit of a dull episode for some of it.
Interesting. Okay, good. All right, so my number 9 is the New Year's Special Resolution. Just because I felt like it was pretty by the numbers. It wasn't terrible, but I don't know. I do agree with Jonathan that the whole Ryan and his dad thing, I think, could have been done better. And it felt like that when they made up, it was more was more out of like fear of him, getting sucked away and everything than it was really like having a true sort of discussion and a true sort of really talking about like why he wasn't there at the funeral and why he was such a negligent person, not a good person. So yeah, it wasn't my favorite. So that's where I have it. So Jonathan, what do you have at number 9?
Number 9 is where I have Kerblam. And it's not because I particularly disliked it. Like I said, I liked most of the season, but like besides the 2 I just talked about, the next 4 and then the 4 after that, it was like I was having a trouble deciding where I wanted to rank them. Yeah. So this could have easily been higher, but it ended up being number 9. Uh-huh. It was slightly weaker than I would have liked it, but overall I did enjoy it. I liked the characters. I thought they had a decent amount of character development for the new characters. And yeah, it was a fine episode. It just I didn't have too many complaints.
Yeah. Very cool. What about you, Richard?
Well, I kind of adjusted the original ranking I put on my blog. So my number 9 is Arachnids in the UK after I've rewatched it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting.
Originally when I watched it, I thought it was just a pretty good adventure. And looking back on it now, it's he does have a few. It wasn't quite as good as I remembered, and the writing being the Trump character feeling a bit heavy-handed. I mean, I think he even has hairstyle a little bit like Trump.
Yeah.
And the spiders were only okay as monsters, but I can't put it above Kerblam and It Takes You Away because it was never boring. There was always something happening.
Well, and it just kind of ends. They don't even there were a lot of spiders all over the place, more than just in that one hotel. And so it just kind of ends, which was weird.
Yeah, maybe they're just hoping they'll die off or something once they've gone with all the main ones around where the rubbish pit is.
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting the Chris Noth's character to come back at some point as well, because I was quite surprised that he ends up getting away alive at the end rather than getting eaten by a spider.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for him to get eaten, and he never did.
Yeah, just that was pretty gnarly when when he just shuts his assistant in that bathroom.
Yeah,
and you hear the woo. So yeah, all right. So my number 8 is the Battle of Ranskor of Kolos, whatever. I actually do kind of like Simsha. I liked how he's got those teeth all over him. That's creepy. Very creepy. Yeah, it wasn't super memorable. I didn't have a lot of, but I thought it didn't have anything that really irritated me like the Trump guy. So it and Resolution are about the same for me. Like they were both okay, but not super. They're both kind of forgettable. But I thought that Graham had some pretty good moments in this one, Ranskor, and I felt I felt for him. It was some pretty nice moments for the Doctor. But yeah, like I said, they're about equal for me, Resolution and this one. So I agree with Jonathan that the ending wasn't as strong as some of the other episodes, the last 2. But Jonathan, what do you have at number 8?
For number 8, that's where I have Arachnids in the UK. This is another one. I thought it was fine. I didn't really have too many complaints. The Trumpish character was meh, whatever. I wasn't super offended by him or anything, but I felt like he was a bit too heavy-handed to be 100% enjoyable as a bad guy. But other than that, I didn't have too many complaints. I liked the spiders. I guess the whole thing about towards the end kind of brought it down slightly with the Doctor not wanting to kill the spider with a gun.
Oh yeah.
She was fine with locking them in the thing to starve to death, but I felt could have been resolved better. Somebody needed to have a couple more writing sessions on how to get
that was lame because the guy was actually more merciful.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, just to shoot because he's dying anyway. And
the Doctor just doesn't like guns by default.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, I agree with you. I forgot about that. That's right. So that's interesting. What do you have at number 8, Richard?
My number 8 is The Woman Who Fell to Earth, the first episode.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was a pretty good start. Like Jodie Whittaker got off to a really great start as the Doctor, and I kind of like seeing how the atmosphere was different from previous series. I never actually watched Broadchurch, which Chris Chibnall has previously worked on, but it did kind of feel a bit like a crime drama. It's kind of dark and gritty atmosphere, but overall, I thought the story with the opener was a little bit weak, and I do like Tim Shaw as a villain, but I thought he was weaker here than he was in the Battle of Ranskorav Koros, and for having like 4, because we had 4 companions rather than 3 for this episode, and that felt a bit too much. So I was kind of expecting that Grace would die, so we'd be down to 3.
Yeah, there were a lot of tells throughout the episode that she was going to be a goner, but yeah, it's still. I felt pretty sad when she did, but yeah.
I was going to say when you mentioned Graham before, Bradley Walsh, the guy who plays him, he's a game show host right now in the UK.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he hosts this game show called The Chase.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so we're on number 7. All right. Okay, so my number 7 is the Ghost Monument. It's sort of like Amazing Race across all these planets that this rich guy has set up, and it wasn't very memorable for me, but I remember enjoying it. So I don't know, that's just where it ended up, right in the middle for me. So Jonathan, what about you? What's your number 7?
Yeah, mine's the same. That's where I have the Ghost Monument as well.
Yeah.
I liked this one. I think I really liked it while I was watching it, but it is a little forgettable. But as far as like thinking back on it, I remember I liked all the characters that they put in. I liked the backstories they were giving them. I thought it was well written. So I didn't remember anything that really brought it down, so it just got stuck in the middle.
Yeah, it's kind of the same with me. All right, Richard, what's your number 7?
Well, it's 3 for 3 because my 7 is also the Ghost Monument. Yeah, I thought it was kind of a minimalist episode, really. It was a very simple story about just trying to get across this planet to get to the TARDIS. And so it felt quite compact, really. Yeah. And so we just get them. It's quite simple adventure, and we get to see some character moments like between Graham and Ryan, and the Doctor and companions getting to know each other, and these 2 other races that are with them.
Yeah.
I think the main problem I had with it is that the ending was a bit too neat.
They end up going off. They win the race, or I can't remember.
They end up tying for it, and then just go off, and then they just get the TARDIS, and that's it.
That's right. All right. So my number 6 is It Takes You Away, because I thought that there was some pretty good emotion between. You know that Graham is not going to choose to stay there, but I thought that there was still some like emotion in just him getting to see her again, and I felt that, and I thought it was pretty well done, and I thought that the blind girl, was really good. It was a very good actress, and I liked the whole atmosphere of it. I liked that it felt like sort of the sunken place, this weird world with these these bladders that they were like these balloons that looked so weird. And so overall I thought that it had some emotion, it had some heart, it looked really cool, and I think that the Doctor had to work really hard to get everybody to do the right thing, to kind of convince everybody to do the right thing, and I liked seeing that. It might have been predictable, but I enjoyed it. So that's the one I have at number 6. So what about you, Jonathan?
Well, we're not going to be 3 for 3 again, but this is also my number 6.
Right,
we're not.
Yeah.
I liked this one, and I didn't really have a problem with the frog at the end. Like, I wish they would have done a better special effect, because the puppet was it seemed slightly unfinished, like they could have done a better job, but I liked the idea that they were going for, and I liked the aesthetic of the entire episode. I thought everything in it was like really imaginative. There were so many great ideas in the episode that I really enjoyed it, and I was able to forgive the puppet at the end.
Right.
But if they had had a better frog, I think I would have liked it a little better, but I didn't have a problem with the frog at all. I thought it was weird, and I like weird things, so...
Maybe something other than a frog.
That would have been fine too, but I didn't mind the frog. I liked that it was a weird thing. I don't know. I enjoyed it, even though it was not as good as it could have been.
Interesting. All right, Richard. What about you? What's your number 6?
My number 6 is The Witchfinders.
Oh,
I just really like the historical episodes this season.
Yeah,
they always managed to create this really great atmosphere of wherever they were, and they always had this theme of like discrimination and ignorance going on. And I just thought this was kind of the weakest of the historical episodes because it kind of handled the historical elements so well and the human element that the alien element kind of felt like an afterthought by comparison. Like, there is kind of a build up through the episode, but they just kind of then pop up at the end and they get dealt with pretty quickly. But otherwise, I just really liked everything that the Doctor and the companions had to deal with in that era, and I really liked Alan Cummings' performance as King James as well.
He was so fun. I loved him. He was such a surprise. As soon as he got on, I was like, oh, look. This is really great. So, yeah, that was fun. Okay. So my number 5 is the premiere, The Women Who Fell to Earth. I really thought there were so many cute moments. Like, I love when the Doctor says that Yaz is her friend. And she has that little moment. I liked when she goes shopping for clothes. That was funny and cute. And of course, then there's also the emotional moments with Grace and how that affects Ryan and Graham. And that's very sad. And I actually thought that this Simsha, like with the teeth all over his face, was pretty creepy and pretty weird. And, that poor guy who worked at the factory, you're like, oh, shoot. But overall, I really enjoyed it. And I just thought that Jodie was so fun in that one. It's such a fun way to introduce her to all of us. She was sort of cheeky, but sweet at the same time. And it was a great start. So
I think she was a bit like David Tennant sometimes.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. So yeah, that's one I have at 5. What about you, Jonathan?
Number 5 is where I have The Witchfinders.
Okay.
Like you said earlier, all the historical episodes were great. Normally, I think I've said this in the past, I've never been like the hugest fan of the historical episodes. They always seem like usually kind of boring to me. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, it's like if I hear there's a historical episode coming up, it's like, oh man, I wanted another outer space adventure, whatever. But all of them this season were great, and this just happens to be my least favorite, but it's still a great episode. I thought they had great characters, and yeah, the alien threat was sweet. So it did sort of seem like an afterthought, but that kind of felt the same way with all of the historical episodes. And I was kind of fine with that because they really built up the characters rather than the alien stuff. And normally I want better aliens, but they did such a good job with the characters and the setting and everything that I really liked it.
How do you feel about the fact there were no double episodes this season?
I mean, it's fine, but I would have preferred at least one because I do like the 2-parters. I feel like that they can build up a story better when they have 2-parters. Like, I would have preferred that the season, or the sort of season finale, Resolution, I would have preferred that as a 2-parter because they would have made me care about the characters more. And I think I would have liked the dad better in that way too.
Yeah, I suppose they would have had more room there, wouldn't there?
Yeah.
A bit more room to play with the Dalek as well.
Yes, definitely.
What do you think, Richard? Do you miss not having a 2-parter?
To be honest, I don't really mind either way. I mean, Series 9 was mostly 2-parters, and that was one of the best seasons. If I could ever able to like develop the stories so well. I don't have very like strong feelings about 2-parters.
Interesting. All right. So Richard, what's your number 5?
Well, my number 5 is the Saranga conundrum. It's a bit of a shame, really, how many other people think this is kind of a weak episode. Like when there's a YouTube channel called the Who Addicts, when they were ranking, real three people ranking their Doctor Who Series 11, and they all had the Tsuranga Conundrum at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I really like
Pregnant Man. I think it's very divisive.
I think most people, a lot of people just kind of feel it's kind of a boring episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I really like it. I mean, it's better than, I find most of Space Station episodes do tend to be a little bit boring. But this one wasn't, because it just had so many characters and so many subplots. And it could have quite easily been a mess. And yeah, it didn't feel that way. It all felt, it all came together quite well. I mean, the Pregnant Man, it wasn't really that relevant to the plot overall, but it did serve this kind of emotional purpose for Ryan and his issues with his father. And I did quite like the Pating as well, how it was this kind of this almost cute and cuddly thing, and yet so destructive. And yet it's not actually malevolent; it's just hungry.
Yeah, I didn't mind I mean, it kind of looks like it sort of looks like Stitch, kind of.
A little bit, yeah. It's a little bit like Stitch as well.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't mind the alien so much. I don't know, just didn't think that. I didn't like the Pregnant Man, but I can see why you'd like it. So, all right. So my number 4 is Kerblam. I thought the whole idea of sort of commenting on sort of Amazon and sort of that thing was pretty interesting. And I think it was really interesting to make the sort of idealistic, kind of hopeful young person, the villain, was pretty bold, actually, especially in this day and age, that we kind of think of them as it's the sort of the liberal idealist who wants everyone to be taken care of, wants everyone to be, and yet here he's the one who is going to be killing all these people with this bubble wrap, and he killed I think her name was Kara. I think he
didn't mean to do that. That was the computer guy did that to teach him a lesson, basically.
Yeah. And so, and I thought it was actually pretty hard. It was probably the biggest challenge for the Doctor to figure out how to stop this and figure out what was going on, figure out the perpetrator, I guess. And I don't know, I just thought it was kind of cool, this whole weird sort of dystopian version of Amazon. Was an interesting way to go, and so that's why I have it at number 4. What about you, Jonathan? What's your number 4?
Number 4 is where I have the Tsuranga Conundrum. I really liked this episode. Yeah, it was my favorite of the really sci-fi episodes this season. There were a lot of great ideas in it. I liked the creature. I actually liked the Pregnant Man just because it was a weird idea, and I like weird ideas. Like I said with the other episode, I liked the frog idea because it was a weird idea. Anything that's completely outside of the ordinary, and if it's written well, I like it. And I liked everything that happened in this episode. I liked the characters. I thought they all had a good amount of character development, enough to make me care about them before the end, which is sometimes hard to do in an hour episode when you bring in a bunch of new characters. A lot of times people don't write them well enough that I actually care about them, and I liked the characters they introduced. So yeah, I liked just about everything in this episode.
Cool. Good. All right. Richard, what do you have a number 4?
My number 4 is Rosa. It is a very strong episode, and kind of putting it at number 4, it's a bit unfair really, because it is a very strong episode. But I was really impressed with how it presented the American segregation in the 1950s, and just how tense you felt all the time with how everybody was regarding the Doctor and Ryan and Yaz. And I did like the whole idea of someone trying to change history by making just these little nudges, and then the Doctor and Team TARDIS having to do all these spur of the moment actions to try and change it back. Maybe the main weaknesses were that the villain was a little too simplistic. Basically, he just wants blacks to be put in their place, and some of it was a little bit heavy-handed as well. I guess that's understandable considering what the subject was. But it was definitely a very good episode.
He was just kind of a racist. There wasn't a whole lot of motivation to him. Yeah. That's true.
And he was another one I was expected to come back later as well, because he just kind of he was just kind of sent away, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe in series 12.
Yeah. All right. So
it's really worth bringing him back, but
yeah,
with that, there wasn't really much resolution to it.
So my number 3 is Witchfinders. I loved Alan Cumming. He was hilarious. I really liked the whole dynamic between the two sisters and the lady who chops down the tree. I thought that was kind of surprising that there was this whole maybe the alien was maybe sort of underused, but I thought it was like a surprising twist on it, I guess, that this has been sort of a dumping ground for these aliens all this time, and then when she cuts down the tree, that sort of unleashed them all. And it sort of has some social commentary as far as religion and groupthink and stuff like that, without being too heavy-handed, in my opinion. All the acting was really good, and they got that atmosphere of a Regency, of a period piece kind of a thing down very good. And I liked the Doctor trying to figure out how to work with these people and how to talk with them. And so anyway, I have it a 3. Jonathan, what do you have a 3?
Number 3 is where I have The Woman Who Fell to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a really great premiere, and I wasn't a huge fan of Tim Shaw, but I don't think he was the main focus of the episode. The main focus of the episode was getting to know the characters, and I thought they did a great job with that. I really liked Ryan's grandmother. I kind of knew from the start that she was doomed because I had seen all the promotional material on who the companions were going to be, and she was not included. So I knew she was going to die, and I did not want her to die because I loved her. I thought she was great. But even though I knew that she was kind of doomed from the start, I thought they did a great job of setting up her character, because even though she dies, she's really important to the series as a whole, and I thought that they did a great job setting all that up and building the characters, I guess, sort of around her. She's not the main focus, but she kind of is.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was all written so well that even though I didn't really care about the bad guy, I still really liked the episode.
Yeah, well, and she so affects both Graham and Ryan, so It's so important to kind of get you sort of attached to her in order to understand their characters going forward.
Yeah.
And she ends up going back twice, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Very good pick. So, Richard, what's your number 3?
Well, my number 3 is the Battle of Ranskorav Kolos. And I originally put this as my favorite episode of the season, not counting Resolution.
Interesting.
When I rewatched it, I found I kind of put it down a little bit, but not much, because I still think it's a very good episode. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why people feel it feels very different from the typical finale. It feels quite low-key compared to the finales of other seasons. But I didn't really mind that. It was quite nice to have a change, really. And I still felt it was a good adventure, and the stakes were pretty high with Earth almost being destroyed. I thought Tim Shaw was a better villain here than he was in the first episode. And then they had that subplot about whether Graham is going to kill Tim Shaw or not. And I think I knew in my head that he wasn't going to, because we've seen that trope before about the good guy thinking they're going to kill the bad guy, and then in the end they can't do it. But I think the acting and the way it was handled was so good that in my heart I wasn't sure if he was going to do it or not.
Yeah, he was really strong in that scene, in that part of the episode. I think he did a very good job, the actor.
Yeah, the second half of the episode was a lot better than the first half.
Yeah, very good. Okay, great. Well, so my number 2 is The Demons of Punjab. I thought it was really well written. I thought it was interesting. I thought I love romance, even a tragic romance, but I love, romances. And I thought that it was really interesting for Yaz to go back and see her grandma and find out that she's this whole different person than she thought. And when she goes back and sees her grandma, she sort of has a whole new respect for all of her accomplishments and her life, and sort of this, this love that she had, and then the two brothers becoming divided because of this partition of India. And I'd seen the I can't think of the name all of a sudden, but the movie about this separation last year, and so I knew a little bit about it. And
the Viceroy's house.
Yes, Viceroy's house. And that was a really good movie, and I thought that this did a good job kind of showing that divide between these two brothers, and that this conflict had created, and it just worked. I think it was really beautifully filmed. It was really well acted, and it's my number 2. So, Jonathan, what about you? What's your number 2?
For this one is where I have Rosa, but really my last couple, even the last few, were just kind of changing a lot. Like, I had my number 2 at the Saranga Conundrum a while ago, but I changed it because there's just, the episodes are all so different that it was hard to pick what I liked about them and what I might like more. But in the end, I put Rosa here because it was one of the historical episodes, and the fact that it was one of my absolute favorites of the season, I thought was great. It didn't quite get to number 1. When I get to number 1, I can explain what pushed it over the top. But I really liked the fact that it mostly stuck with the human drama, which is kind of weird for me to say because my favorite thing about Doctor Who is the weird aliens, and the fact that I like this one kind of because there were no weird aliens says a lot for the episode, I think. I liked that the bad guy was not an alien. I liked that he was just a racist from Earth. Because, I almost was afraid that they were going to have the bad guy be an alien, and I felt like that would have cheapened the episode somehow. So the fact that he was time traveling from the future still kept in the sci-fi element, but it allowed it just to be a human with made it a human issue. And I liked that they wrote it so well and they had the resolution written so well. I really liked everything about this episode.
Yeah. Have you ever watched any of the first Doctor's historical adventures, Jonathan? Because some of those are just historicals that had no aliens at all.
Yeah, I've been trying to find a good way to watch them. They were on Hulu for a while, and I started watching it, and then they took it off Hulu. So I don't really feel like subscribing to another. I think it's on BritBox now. I don't really feel like subscribing to a whole nother thing just for that because I don't have time to. I have 2 jobs plus the internet stuff, so I don't really have time to watch a lot of things. So I don't want to subscribe to another one unless I've got a focus. I'm going to watch this for all the way through.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, Richard, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Resolution, the New Year's special. I just found it a really entertaining special. It kind of felt of all the episodes in Series 11, this one felt kind of closest to what had come before in the Davis and Moffat series. And I think after Series 11 was so different in a lot of ways, I was kind of ready for something like this, having a classic monster back and just a classic adventure. I did quite like how they used the Dalek with its possessing this woman, even though that did feel quite a lot like Venom. And then having it come along with this junkyard look, this quite slender look that I did like as well. It was just a fun episode, really.
Yeah, there were definitely some fun moments with the Daleks when he was making his tank. That was pretty interesting. Yeah, I like that.
I liked the episode too, even though it was at the bottom. But my biggest problem with it was that it felt like it went too fast, and they crammed too much into 1 hour. If they had put it into a 2-parter, I think I would have really liked the episode.
Yeah,
it felt like they were trying to do too much too quickly.
I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff with Ryan's dad didn't. I felt like could have worked better just because it kind of felt very separate from what was going on with the Dalek.
Mm-hmm.
It felt a little bit out of place, really. It might have been different if it'd been a 2-parter and they could develop it a bit more.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, so now we're at our top spot. This is very exciting. So my number 1 is the aforementioned Rosa. I thought it was so well done. I thought the idea of making just these little changes that would stop her from getting for refusing to move her seat on that bus. There were so many of them that was really fun, and for the doctor and all of them to have to keep track of all these different things, and then also, you know, it's like interesting to see the way that they treated Ryan and also the way they treated Yaz. Thinking she was like Mexican or something, and that was funny. And you know, how they respond and how sort of horrific it is for them as minorities to be in that era, and how hard it is. And because like last year there was the one with the ice, you know, the town with the ice that was set in the past, and nobody cared at all that the I forget her name was black.
Bill,
yeah. Nobody cared at all.
I don't know much about her either.
Which I liked. I liked this better because it was like, it just felt more real, I guess, of how these companions would be treated. I don't know. I thought it was kind of moving at the end when they're with Rosa and talking with her about change, and then she then eventually, you know, holds her ground in the bus, and everything ends up turning out good. And I love time travel stories, and all of Doctor Who to a certain extent has time travel stories, but some they feel more like time travel stories than others. And this really got that sort of idea of one little choice that we make can throw sort of everything off, and I like that. So that's my number one. So Jonathan, what's your number one?
Yeah, this is where I kept flipping back and forth because I had Rosa there for a while too, but
yeah,
ultimately I decided to go with the Demons of the Punjab because
it's so good.
I really liked what they did with the episode, because this is not a historical event that everybody is familiar with. Like, most of the time Doctor Who does stories like that totally everybody knows what they're going for, but I didn't really know hardly anything about this time and this place, and I liked how they kind of made it into an educational episode without it seeming like an educational episode. I thought it was so well written, so that I kind of like, it actually taught me what was going on, and then to have the good character development on top of that, it was almost like the icing on the cake. And then at the end, like, one of my favorite alien tropes, this is a weird favorite trope to have, but I love it when aliens are kind of horrifying, but they're actually like benevolent and nice. Like, one of my favorite things about A Wrinkle in Time is Aunt Beast. Like, she's this horrible looking alien, but she's like so kind and loving. And I like that kind of happened here. It wasn't the same exact thing, but they were nice aliens. They just looked horrifying, and people thought they were demons. There were so many elements at play that it just put it over the top, and I decided this one's going to be my number one.
Well, and the aliens were trying to do the right thing. They were trying to, from their perspective, and that always helps. But yeah, great pick for, obviously it's my number two, so I agree with you very much. So Richard, what's your number one?
Well, I'm with Jonathan. My number one at the moment is Demons of the Punjab.
Yeah, it was really.
I just thought this was the most emotional episode of the season, I felt. I mean, it handled like its historical background, how this issue about the partition of India, and just how you get this tension building up and kind of rising, and just tempers getting worse and worse until finally we get the all-out aggression at the end. It did feel quite similar to Rosa, but maybe handled it a little bit better. And then you get the reveal with the aliens who are supposed to be assassins and are actually witnesses. I just really love that moment in the spaceship where the aliens are explaining to the Doctor what they're doing now. That was just one of the really good moments of the series. And then we get this conflict about how they're not allowed to change anything. And it was just a very strong episode all around.
Because a lot of times it seems like Doctor Who doesn't acknowledge that if you change something, then it'll change everything, kind of a thing. Yeah. But they definitely did for this episode, so it was a really good one.
Like, I did think in Rosa how they can't allow and they're trying to stop this change from Rosa being on the bus, and yet they're able to send this bus driver off to Las Vegas to meet Frank Sinatra, which he presumably didn't do in the original timeline. So is that not going to change anything?
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Very good. Good picks. Very good. So let's all go over our picks. So I have at number 11, I have the Tsuranga Conundrum. Number 10, I have Arachnids in the UK. Number 9, Resolution 8, The Battle of Ranskar of Kolos. Number 7, The Ghost Monument. Number 6, It Takes You Away. Number 5, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. Number 4, Kerblam. Number 3, Witchfinders. Number 2, Demons of Punjab. And number 1, Rosa. So Jonathan, you want to give your order real quick?
Yeah, for number 11, I have Resolution. For number 10, I have The Battle of Ranskor of Kolos. Number 9, Kerblam. Number 8, Arachnids in the UK. Number 7, The Ghost Monument. Number 6, It Takes You Away. Number 5, The Witchfinders. Number 4, The Tsuranga Conundrum. Number 3, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. Number 2, Rosa. And number 1, The Demons of the Punjab.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Very, very good. All right, Richard, recite your list once again.
Okay. At number 11, It Takes You Away. Number 10, Kerblam. Number 9, Arachnids in the UK. Number 8, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. Number 7, The Ghost Monument. Number 6, The Witchfinders. Number 5, The Tsuranga Conundrum. Number 4, Rosa. Number 3, The Battle of Ranskor of Kolos. Number 2, Resolution. And number 1, Demons of the Punjab.
Very good. Great. Well, I really like all of our rankings. I think this was really fun. And, I'm kind of glad that we all, liked this season for the most part, because it seems like it's been pretty divisive. But I feel like there's good stuff in there, and there have been some really strong episodes. And so I feel positive about the season. I would definitely give it a fresh rating if I was going to put it on Rotten Tomatoes. I give it fresh.
Yeah. Probably the ratings have been pretty good for compared to other seasons, especially Series 10. Like there's this YouTube channel called Mr. TARDIS Reviews has been kind of analysing the numbers of the audiences over like 7 days and 28 days on like streaming services, and they find that the viewing is actually pretty good, relatively speaking.
That's good. That's really
I'm glad.
Yeah. Well, I wish they weren't waiting until 2020, but at least I have plenty of time and plenty of other stuff to do.
Well, might be a special at the end of the year. We don't know yet.
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm really hoping they'll do a Christmas special.
Yeah.
Or a New Year's special, if that's what they're going to switch to. But I think they should go back to Christmas.
Yeah, I think so too. So great. Okay, awesome. Well, Jonathan, where can people find you online?
You can find me at John J. North on most social media, and you can find me on YouTube if you search for iHeart Animation. Great.
And Richard, where can people find you?
Well, my YouTube channel is just Richard Southworth. My Twitter is RJ_Southworth. And I have a blog where I talk about Doctor Who and other things at velociraptor256.wordpress.com.
Cool. Great. And we'll have that all in the description section if people can make sure you're following both Jonathan and Richard, and make sure you're following me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media. And if you can put your reviews on iTunes, that's very helpful. And give us a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. And thanks so much, you guys. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right. We will talk again next year about Doctor Who.
Okay.